I have decided to coin the years after 25, the midlife 20s crisis, and I'm going to tell you how to get through it and survive. I am a former Disney host and founder of a company called Be Fearless Summit, and I started as a blogger back in 2011 with a fashion blog I started when I was 12 called A Life in the Fashion Lane. If you are not familiar with me, subscribe to YouTube right here so you get a notification every time I post, every single time a video goes out. I also have a weekly podcast called The New Unfiltered, where I interview really successful founders and people who are super smart and inspire me to inspire you guys to be fearless. Someone sent me a message saying that I should post a video on how to be resilient and how to pivot. And another friend last week and I were talking about what I am coining this midlife 20s crisis. And I like that name because obviously most people think you can't have a crisis in your mid-20s, but I am absolutely convinced you can. And there's a few reasons and a few things that I've realized on like how to get out of this process and this crisis, because otherwise it just keeps going on and it is already so hard to be in your 20s. So I started feeling, and I got to a point where I started realizing just in between and after age 25 that you really have to get your stuff together. And I feel like at this point I have a really good sense of who I am. And I think in your early 20s, no one really knows what's going on. No one knows who they are, and they all want to just experiment. That's something that I always wanted to and was trying to do and say yes to everything in my early 20s. And then when I hit 25, I realized I was super comfortable saying no to things. I was comfortable not going out. I don't have the same amount of FOMO that I did in my early 20s. Thank God, because FOMO is a huge, dumbest waste of time. I think that any person can have. In reality, your 20s are hard, but your mid to late 20s are exceptionally harder because you have an idea of who you are, but you're really not necessarily sure where you're going. And so that can obviously bring in a lot of confusion about like your identity and what you envision for the rest of your life. So some ways that I have found that I have been able to battle this crisis is to spend a lot more time alone instead of going out every night or saying yes to every event or networking party. I'm a lot more strategic with my time. And I think that because I know myself to my core at this point, I'm a lot more comfortable saying no. I don't want to go out tonight. I don't want to drink. When I was in my early 20s, I was wanting, like I said, to go out every night and to meet everyone because I thought that's what I should be doing for my career. And now I'm a little bit more comfortable knowing that my career is at a point where this is where it is, and I hope it continues on and continues to excel. But I'm also slowly getting comfortable with the idea that it may not become what I envisioned it becoming. It will go in a different direction, and that's just a maturity thing. That's just a thing. You have no idea what's going on in life, so you might as well go with the flow. And so with that comes this reality that being alone, going on walks, having my morning routine, saying no to going out gives me a lot more time to think about my future and think about how I'm going to implement a lot of these goals in between 25 and 30. I think the people who are really stressed out about getting to 30 are the people who are 30 and all of a sudden are freaking out that they are not doing well enough or they need to have kids. I've never really believed in that. I don't think it's a good idea to live your life thinking that when you hit 30, you need to do these things, because that's not how life plays out. So if you can just chill out a little bit and give yourself a little bit more headspace and spend more time alone, I definitely think that you'll get these answers. To back up a little bit though, and back off of some of the more neurotic things that I think I did in my 20s. Now, my late teens and my early 20s, I was the person who was at the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. If I didn't work out, I had so much anxiety. And if I said no to someone, I would always say it with a white lie because I couldn't deal with disappointing someone. And now that I'm 25, I am totally fine to not work out for a day or 2 days or 3 days. Sometimes it gives me anxiety, but I have to remind myself nothing is going to happen to me if I don't work out for, whatever. And I also really tried to cut back, if not totally eradicate any of those white lies, and simply tell someone I'm unavailable for this reason, or I don't want to go out anymore for that reason. I want that same respect from someone, that same courtesy, and I want to give that to the person as well. And so whatever it is that you want to get from someone, you should always give back to someone and to someone the same honesty and reality. Because a lot of times, especially in dating, people will come up with these different reasons of like why they can't see you again, or you'll come up with some reason on why you don't want to go out with them. And in reality, you should just be comfortable saying, this is not a fit for me. I think the silliest things that I see, and see it a lot with my girlfriends whom I adore, but I think going out with someone 5 or 6 times to figure out if that on that 5th or 6th date you like that person when you probably know you don't like them, it's kind of silly. You're wasting your time, and honestly, you're wasting their time. So how can you make yourself be that most authentic, confident version of yourself so you don't find the need to say things to kind of save face? No one successful gets anywhere in life saving face and feeling like they need to lie to people to get around the root of the problem, which is just that you don't vibe with someone, or that you simply just don't want to go out and drink or party, stay out late, and that's totally fine. No one is gonna care, but white lies will start to annoy you. And I think and what I realize, it'll hurt kind of your self-worth and your ego a bit when you start doing those things. So get yourself to a point where you're just confident and comfortable enough with yourself to be able to tell someone, this is what I want to do, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. And aside from that, just move on. The third thing that I have done to be able to counter this midlife crisis is to really work to not compare myself to other people. And I think that means having specific times of the day where you do things like go on YouTube or go on social media. Personally, I always go on YouTube during my lunch break. So if I have 30 or 40 minutes where I'm eating lunch or kind of taking a break in the middle of the day, that's when I'll go on YouTube. That's when I sift through or scroll through social media, because I know that otherwise it's really toxic for me, and that looking at what everyone is doing is just super unhealthy and honestly a waste of time, because you never know what's happening in someone's life. And so if you can find that 30 minutes of the day and feel free to split that time up, like maybe you want 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, and 20 minutes at night, that is 40 minutes right there, not 30. Ideally, we're looking at a 30-minute block of time throughout the day where you were on social media heavily. But if you can find those times where you give yourself that amount of time on the internet, I think that it really allows you to not only spend less time on social media, but also take in and consume what you need to consume. Anyone who has endless amounts of time and can scroll for hours and hours is going to probably turn their phone off and feel pretty shitty. You've now just consumed a bunch of stuff. You don't even realize how much it's affecting you, from how good someone's new hair looks to who someone is dating to all these kind of things. And you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. So help yourself by scheduling the time that you're going to spend on your phone and on social media. You can even get strategic enough to specifically say in the morning, I'm spending 10 minutes on Instagram. At lunch, I'm spending 20 minutes on YouTube. And at 6 p.m., I'm spending 15 minutes on TikTok, whatever it is that works for you. And again, that also helps you manage your time really well. I find a lot of people in their 20s struggle with figuring out what to do if they have extra time on their hands. So strict time management to figure out if they want to build a company, how do they divide and conquer the amount of time that we have in a day. And so if you can give yourself that specific amount of time, you have already now made this decision easier for yourself, to where you can literally separate your time into what you need to be doing and what you enjoy doing, and then everything else in between. So slowly you can have a schedule put together. Even if you have no idea, put it on your schedule for tomorrow or Friday. Go ahead and write lunch, breakfast, when you're on social media, and now you have an hour of your day scheduled. Slowly start to weave everything into that. So everything you have to do in between that. So these are just things that I have found have really helped me get to a point where I'm really comfortable in my 20s crisis that I think a lot of people in their 20s deal with. And a lot of people don't know how to deal with it, because people always think you are not having a crisis until you're in your actual midlife, which is, I think, 40, 45. But the 20s are hard. They're not meant to be easy. They're meant to teach you a lot of lessons. And I will do a solo episode on the New Unfiltered about pivoting and being resilient. I write that every day in this gratitude journal that I have, that it's something I'm really proud of with myself, as I'm able to bounce back and be resilient. I don't think I would be standing if I was or had given up with the amount of times I probably should have given up. So resilience, I think it's just part of my DNA. It's something that is very much a part of me. And hopefully by watching these videos, you guys get a sense of how to implement some of these fearless techniques I've dealt with and overcome and continue to capitalize on so that you guys can be your most fearless self. So don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Head to the bio below this video to check out everything else I'm doing, the new Unfiltered, as well as where another Be Fearless Summit will be. And every video goes live on Wednesday and Friday, or Tuesday and Friday. So again, subscribe so you get a notification every single time a new video goes out. And I'll see you guys next week for a new YouTube video.